Hey, good morning, friends. Welcome to The Bright Side. I am Pharmacist Ben, and thanks for being here. 844-236-6010 is our number, as always, on The Bright Side. We love hearing from you. If you have questions, comments, success stories you'd like to share, or if you just want to contribute to the conversation, 844-236-6010 is our number. We'll be speaking with Dr. Gabriel Cousens. And at the bottom of the hour, Dr. Gabriel Cousens is a rabbi and a yogi and a mystic and a health expert. He's been a vegan for over 40 years. And I've just finished reading his biography, his spiritual biography, which is unbelievably powerful stuff. It's called Into the Nothing. We'll talk to Dr. Cousens at the bottom of the hour, and we'll get your calls in our next segment, 844-236-6010. If you want to purchase longevity products, head to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com, or even better, if you want to sign up to join the Brightside Ben team and start a home-based business, click on the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com. You can also call 866-735-2470. That's 866-735-2470 for a $30 fee. You can be a business for yourself, start a home-based business, and help spread the word about the power and importance of a good nutritional supplement program. Call 866-735-2470 for info, or hit the Join the Team link at brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. Our number 844-236-6010, and we'll get your calls in our next segment, and we'll be speaking with Dr. Rabbi Gabriel Cousens. I've been reading Dr. Cousens' work for many, many years. We've had him on the program before, and his latest book is a tour de force. It's his autobiography, and man, some of the stuff I learned from reading this book is just amazing. This is one superstar, absolute superstar guy. I'm so excited to speak to Dr. Cousens. At the bottom of the hour, we'll get your calls. Next segment, 844-236-6010, 844-236-6010. Okay, so we have been spending some time talking about lectins, Lectins. A lot of you guys have heard of lectins. Lectins are classified as an anti-nutrient, and ever since Dr. Gundry wrote his book, they've become kind of mainstream. Dr. Stephen Gundry actually wrote 2 books about lectins, and he's got all kinds of stuff on the internet, and he's got supplements, and kind of become a sort of marketing thing. His books, The Plant Paradox and The Longevity Paradox, talk about the hidden dangers in so-called healthy foods. Dr. Gundry's position is that lectins in vegetables make veggies not necessarily the health foods that most of us think they are. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. It's true that lectins can be problematic, and a lot of health challenges are associated with lectins. I first heard about lectins in pharmacy school. Lectins are protein-binding carbohydrate-binding proteins. They're proteins, and they stick to carbohydrates. They have a Velcro-like effect, and they stick to the outer part of a cell. The outer part of a cell, the glycocalyx. Glyco always means sugar. Whenever you hear glyco in biochemistry, calyx means mask. Glycocalyx is the sugar mask. It's the covering on top of the cell membrane, and it's how cells identify each other. They're identification tags. If you could zoom into a glycocalyx, you would see a forest of long-chain sugars, like whiskers on top of a cell. And these long-chain sugars have an identification effect. They're like ID badges. And the way the immune system works is it's looking for foreign glycocalyces. Lectins bind to these glycocalyces, and they distort them. They make them look foreign, and that thereby activate the immune system and cause inflammatory effects. And a lot of inflammatory health challenges are associated with lectins. Nonetheless, lectins are not all bad. It's not that simplistic. Lectins bad. Lectins bad. Vegetables bad. Good foods, bad foods. That's why I have a problem with this whole idea of good foods, bad foods. Yeah, that's true. Potato chips are probably all bad, but some foods are sometimes good, sometimes bad. Vegetables are like that. Veggies certainly are powerful phytonutrients in them that are important for health, but they also have some things that may be problematic. You got to kind of pick and choose. You got to see how you respond to them. Lectins, as we said in our last program, have antiviral properties, and lectins have been used to treat influenza or have been studied to treat influenza virus. They've been studied to treat HIV virus. They've been studied to treat COVID, for that matter. Lectins can support the immune system and help fight cancer. Lectins have antioxidant effects. Lectins have antimicrobial effects. Lectins from mushrooms are especially powerful and have anti-cancer and antiviral effects. Mushroom lectins have been shown to slow down the growth of tumor cells involved in sarcomas, hepatomas, leukemias, carcinomas. Quick digression. Sarcomas are cancers of the connective tissue. Hepatomas are cancers of the liver. Leukemia refers to blood cancers. And carcinomas refer to cancers of the epithelial tissue or the lining tissues. Linings like the skin, for example, or the inner linings of the intestines. Whenever you hear carcinoma, you're talking about a lining cancer. When you hear leukemia, you're talking about a blood cancer. Hepatomas are cancers of the liver. And sarcomas are cancers of the connective tissue. Mushroom lectins have been shown to have antiviral effects like other lectins, and they've been researched for their ability to treat HIV like other lectins, as well as hepatitis. Mushroom lectins can block excitotoxins. Excitotoxins are associated with MSG and other food additives. Excitotoxins are, as the name implies, they're toxins that excite your brain. Mushroom lectins have been shown to be effective, perhaps, for treating ADHD and Huntington's disease. Huntington's chorea, they call it. Chorea means dancing. And Huntington's chorea or Huntington's disease is a brain illness that's marked by uncontrollable and involuntary dance-like movements. They call it Huntington's chorea. Some mushrooms, interestingly, may even have antifungal activity, which is kind of interesting because mushrooms are a type of fungus. Mushroom lectins have been shown to treat candida for yeast infections. Mushroom lectins have been shown to have antioxidant properties that can help protect cell membranes from oxidation for anti-aging effects. Mushroom lectins have been shown to help chelate, that is to magnetically attract heavy metals, and there are scientists who believe that the protective effects of mushroom lectins can be exploited to target free radicals and to slow down disease in the aging process. That's a lot of benefits, folks, from mushrooms. And mushroom lectins. Mushrooms have been known to have anti-cancer and general medicinal properties for thousands of years. Chinese medicine. Chinese medical texts from 2000 BC talked about using mushrooms as for their medicinal properties. And it's not just the lectins, by the way, that deliver therapeutic effects in mushrooms. Mushroom beta-glucan is incredibly important for the immune system. Beta-glucan is one of the most amazing medicinal and therapeutic substances in all of nature. And I say that for two reasons. Number one, because it's got so many wonderful benefits. But number two, beta-glucan is one of the most ubiquitous substances in the natural world. It's a type of fiber. It's a type of cellulose. Actually, it's similar to cellulose, we'll say. Beta-glucan is in the Restart Your Life products from Longevity. Talk about beta-glucan when we come back from a break. We'll take your phone calls, 844-236-6010, and we're going to talk to Dr. Rabbi Gabriel Cousens at the bottom of the hour. We're back on the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. Got lines open for you. We'll get your calls here in just a minute. Dr. Gabriel Cousens, Dr. Rabbi Gabriel Cousens will be with us at the bottom of the hour. We're going to talk about his spiritual autobiography, Into the Nothing. Dr. Cousens is a holistic physician and a vegan, and he's got all kinds of great health takes. He's also got some interesting spiritual takes as well. We'll talk to Dr. Cousens at the bottom of the hour, and we'll get your calls this segment, if we have calls, at 844-236-6010, 844-236-6010. So, beta-glucan. I love that stuff. I love it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's so powerful and so multifunctional. It's got all kinds of wonderful health benefits, but it's also ubiquitous. It's found everywhere in nature. It's particularly in mushrooms and funguses, in grains, cereal grains in particular, bacteria. It's a part of the cell membrane. It's a function. It's part of the cell membrane in plants, cell wall, I should say, in plants and funguses and bacteria. The cell wall is a coating on top of the cell membrane that are found in non-animal cells. And beta-glucan gives that cell wall a certain stiffness, but it's also really, really powerfully medicinal and powerfully therapeutic. I've been a fan of beta-glucan for many years. As with many herbal and botanical and nutritional health strategies, I first heard about beta-glucan from one of my professors, Dr. Alpert, who specialized in something called pharmacognosy, which is the study of the pharmaceutical properties of plants. Yes, we actually studied plant medicine in pharmacy school. Pharmacists are pretty hip to that for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the fact that drugs are oftentimes analogous to or even derived from plants. And pharmacognosy is a study of these pharmaceutical properties of botanicals. It's very interesting that the vegetable kingdom is the source of so much medicinal value. And as it turns out, the fungal kingdom, that is, mushrooms, may have even more nutritional value than plants. In the case of beta-glucan, which is not only found in mushrooms, but also in yeast and bacteria and cereal grains, especially oats and barley. If you've heard about Cheerios, when they got the word that beta-glucan was important for helping clear out blood fats, they started advertising that Cheerios was good for your heart. And I guess maybe the case could be made that Cheerios are good for your heart. But it's not the Cheerios, it's the oats. You're much better off just eating oats. Yes, I know about gluten in oats. And oats are not necessarily a great food, but nonetheless they have beta-glucan. And that's the whole idea, that just because a food has good stuff in it doesn't mean it's a good food, and just because a food has bad stuff in it doesn't mean it's a bad food. It's much more subtle than that, and oats have incredibly powerful nutrients, incredibly important nutritional value. Great source of protein, plus it's got beta-glucan. On the other hand, oats stick to your ribs and they stick to your intestine. So they may or may not be a great food, and as we were talking about with one of our guests last week, trying to think who it was, it's the processed oats that are especially problematic. And that's really true about a lot of foods. Sometimes foods are good foods, but when they process them to put them in cereals, all of a sudden they're not good foods anymore. So nutrition and food chemistry and understanding how to use foods correctly for their therapeutic values and their nutritional values requires a little subtlety. It's not as simple as good foods, bad foods. In any case, the immune-boosting properties of this really important and ubiquitous molecule, beta-glucan, has been extensively researched, and it's well recognized. It's been researched now for probably 40 or 50 years, at least 30 or 40 years, the importance of beta-glucan for building the immune system. Beta-glucan, as I say, is found in it's the active ingredient in the Restart Your Life formulas from Longevity. The guy who did Restart Your Life, his name is Wade. I forgot Wade's last name, but we've had him on the bright side. He actually treated his cancer with beta-glucan successfully, and that's how he came up with the Restart Your Life formulations. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that it's chemotherapy in any way, shape, or form. Nonetheless, beta-glucan has been shown to have wonderful anti-cancer properties. In fact, it can be thought of as an all-around health substance, beta-glucan. So you don't have to take your Restart Your Life just for cancer. You can take it as an all-around health supplement. It's not an essential nutrient, obviously, but it can be very important as a general health supplement. And while it's best known as an immune system booster because of its ability to support immunity, it's actually got general well-being benefits, and you don't have to be sick to benefit from the immune and general health benefits of beta-glucan. I use it in my skincare formulations. I've been using it in my skincare formulations since the 1980s. And yes, beta-glucan works topically to help support skin health the way it works internally to help support internal health. It's anti-inflammatory, it's anti-redness, it's great topically for patients who have rosacea or inflammatory conditions like eczema. And this is one reason why oats have a reputation for being a really good anti-inflammatory or anti-irritant ingredient. They're loaded with beta-glucan. Oatmeal baths have been traditionally used to treat dry, cracked, itchy skin. Think Aveeno oatmeal bath. You can make your own oatmeal bath just by tossing in some oatmeal. Actually, you probably want to heat up the oatmeal to release the beta-glucan, and then just put it right in the tub. Or beta-glucan is water-soluble, so you can make oatmeal and then use the water in your bath. Make your own Aveeno oatmeal bath. Beta-glucans speed up wound healing. They stimulate collagen production when they're using skincare products. Beta-glucans are anti-infective. They're antibacterial. And they support the natural antioxidant systems in the skin. And the benefits of internal beta-glucan taken internally are well documented, particularly for treating or dealing with, I should say, cancer. The secret to the power of beta-glucan, which is found in mushrooms and yeast and bacteria, is in the sugars. Technically speaking, glucans are long chains of glucose. Cellulose is a type of glucan. Cellulose is one of the most abundant substances in all of nature. Glucans are super, super abundant. Think about it. It's just a long chain of glucose, which is really amazing that just a long chain of glucose molecules can have so many wonderful health benefits. Cellulose is obviously not just used. Cellulose doesn't really have health benefits except perhaps as fiber for the bowels, but it's used in textiles and foods and medicine and skincare. Beta-glucan is a specific type of glucan where the glucose pieces are connected together with what is called a beta link, and that has, without getting into too much chemistry, that just refers to the chemical structure. So glucans are a general term for long chains of glucose. There's another molecule called fructans. You may have seen that on skincare products. Fructans are long chains of fructose, just like glucans are long chains of glucose. And beta-glucan is a specific type of glucan. There's also beta-fructan, which is used in skincare products sometimes. Beta-glucan has a lot more literature associated with it. Beta-glucan's chemical structure actually allows it to be absorbed into the body via the intestine and then the lymph system. There are cells in the intestine that will take the beta-glucan and turn it and actually grab the beta-glucan and stick it into the bloodstream, which is on the other side of the intestine, or actually say the lymph system, which is on the other side of the intestine. Cellulose you can't do that with, and other glucan fibers are broken down, but beta-glucan can make it into the bloodstream, or make it into the lymph, I should say. Not the bloodstream, but the lymph. And once it's in the lymph, beta-glucans do their immune-boosting effects. They achieve their immune-boosting effects. They activate the immune system, which is sensitive to sugars. Remember, sugars activate the immune systems because the body interprets it as an enemy invasion, and there's some interesting chemistry behind that. We'll talk about that on our next Bright Side episode, and we'll talk about the interesting heart health benefits to beta-glucan. All right. Dr. Gabriel Cousens, Rabbi Dr. Gabriel Cousens, author of Spiritual Nutrition and the Rainbow Diet, as well as Into the Nothing, will be with us. Don't go away. Okay, we are back on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben, and thanks for joining us. We're on the air Monday through Friday, 8 to 9 Pacific, and 10 to 11 Central Time, and 24/7 on the archive page at benfuchsarchives.com. Thank you to Peter in the UK for setting that up. We've got a search engine up if you miss a program or want to review a program or have a specific subject you'd like to check out. Go to benfuchsarchives.com. We also have a search engine and archives at brightsideben.com where you can purchase longevity products. You can also go to criticalhealthnews.com and pharmacistben.com and check out longevity products, the business opportunity, as well as videos and interviews and blog posts and news stories and lots of good health information on all our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com. And don't forget to take a look at our Truth Skin Health products, all formulated in my compounding pharmacy for healing wounds. Healing wounds equals beauty. And the effects you want from a beauty product, a topical beauty product, are pretty much the same as the effects you'd want from a wound healing product. And that's what I discovered in my pharmacy. We repurposed our prescription wound healing products as beauty products. You can check them all out at truthtreatments.com and take a look at our 1,400 plus 4- and 5-star reviews at truthreviewed.com, truthreviewed.com. All right, I am super, super stoked to speak to our guest today. I've been following his work for many years. I have a copy of his book, Spiritual Nutrition and the Rainbow Diet, sitting right on my desk, and also Rainbow Green Live Food Cuisine. Rabbi Dr. Gabriel Cousens is an incredible healthcare professional, but as it turns out, he's also a yogi and a mystic, and his new book is Into the Nothing, which I've read, and I'm going to definitely read again because, man, is it packed with all kinds of wonderful stuff. It's easy to read. It's a great, great story. Please welcome to the bright side, Rabbi Dr. Gabriel Cousens. Hello, Dr. Cousens.
Well, Ben, hello, and I'm very happy to be on your show. I'd like to start with a little prayer, merging the heavens and earth. This is the age of Aquarius that we're ending in today on the 21st. So here's the prayer. L'shem yikud kadesha brihu ushinate bi'ilo or ilmu lahad Hashem yukid bavavke. Amen. Now feel that oneness, heart and mind becoming one. That's the secret to healing.
I love it. I don't know what you said, but I don't know exactly what you said, but I definitely felt it.
It's the merging of heavens and earth and heart and mind, which is key for the whole healing energy.
I love that. You know, I've always thought that separation and sin go together, sin meaning separation. And I always felt like a lot of our health challenges are due to feeling separate from the universe or separate from God. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Well, when we're not connected to our soul, which is what you just said, in a sense. When you're not connected to the soul, you're not really connected to the divine. And that lack of connection depletes your consciousness on different levels. The secret to healing is to love yourself enough to want to heal yourself. Now, if you're not connected to your soul, it's very difficult to love yourself. So when we connect with our soul, then we can love ourselves enough to be motivated to want to heal ourselves, and that's how it's connected. And really to choose a lifestyle that expands and heals ourselves. They're all, it's connected. So you have to love yourself. You have to have that soul connection that then can motivate you.
Isn't it interesting how healing and whole come from the same root?
Yeah, because it is about oneness.
Yeah.
That's the whole holistic physician movement in that way.
So I've been following your work for many years. I've been reading your books for many years. But when I read your book, Into the Nothing, which is, I encourage everybody to get this book. It's awesome. Lots of great health information, spiritual information. But I was really interested to see that you were an athlete, and not just any athlete. You were like a high-powered athlete. Can you talk a little bit about how sports and athleticism fit into this idea? Because a lot of people would think that spirituality and athletics and sports are not necessarily together. They may even be opposites. But you don't see it that way.
No, I don't experience it that way. So the key, and I kind of joke in my book, I say all I ever learned was from meditating, playing football, and sacred relations. Okay? So how does playing football do that? Because when you're going beyond your limits, you go into these ecstatic divine states beyond the mind. And so that was my experience playing football both in high school and in college, is that going beyond the mind takes you into beyond the zone, into very special spiritual states. And, of course, these, once football season ends, well, then what else are you going to do? Then you go to meditating. Because that you don't have to have a football field for.
Do you think super great athletes like the Michael Jordans and the Wayne Gretzkys of the world, they're like yogis in a way?
They can be. I don't know these people directly, but often they are. Because they really focus. Their mind is very clear and very focused on what they're doing.
All right, so tell me about...
I know some of the athletes clearly do some meditating and clearly, go into the zone.
The zone, I love that. So there's a relationship between what's called the zone and the nothing, do you think?
It's in the spectrum. In the zone, there's you experiencing a very clear, peaceful mind while you're in the midst of competing and doing your sport. Into the nothing is you've gone beyond the mind, and you literally, you as a separate I-ness, dissolve into the oneness of God. It's a little different.
Does it take a lot of work to go into the nothing, or is it something that we all have a capability of doing, just like turning a switch?
Everyone can have that happen. My experience was it was more of an ecstatic type of thing that had happened spontaneously.
Where does ordinary religion fit into this equation? Traditional religion.
All the traditional religions are stepping stones to go beyond the mind. So they get you with morals and ethics to kind of balance your life, and then you have to go beyond. So the morals and ethics of all the different religions kind of prepare you with the discipline, and then you go beyond that. That's how that works. So they work together. They give a foundation for then transcending into spiritual life.
You call them holy lies. What did you mean by that?
Well, because they're not the truth. The truth is there's only God. The religions all play their roles, but they have all their rituals and all their belief systems In the end, there's only God. There's no belief systems. You go beyond the mind. Belief systems are in the mind. So religions keep you in the mind to that extent, if that makes sense.
Do you see them as problematic, Orthodox religions? They take you away from something?
Well, not necessarily. It just depends how you use it. For me, it was a benefit because I could have that foundation and then go beyond.
So it's like a first step, or like a baby step, or like training wheels.
Yeah, it's a foundation. It's a foundation. Morals, ethics, focusing your mind, focusing on God to some extent, and then we go beyond the mind.
Okay, we got to take a break. We got Dr. Gabriel Cousins, Dr. Rabbi Gabriel Cousins will continue with more of his book, Into the Nothing. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back. Okay, we are back on The Bright Side. We're talking to Dr. Rabbi Gabriel Cousins. His book is Into the Nothing. He's got many, many books. His latest book is Into the Nothing. Dr. Cousins, if I should call you Dr. Cousins, I assume, or Rabbi Cousins?
Yeah, that's fine.
Dr. Cousins. Good. Okay, so, your book is a celebration of being alive. That's how I read it, as a celebration of life. But yet there's a lot of interesting things about death in the book. And you talk a little bit about how death has affected you and how it's like it was sort of formative in your viewpoints. Can you touch on a little bit on how the deaths of your brother and your mother and father affected you and how it kind of allowed you to develop these very interesting spiritual takes on life?
So I had TB in 1943, which is a death sentence. In 1943, there was no treatment. So I was born into the energies of death. Nobody expected me to live. But my mother's loving care, my father's loving care, I obviously survived because here I am, right? So that was my introduction. Now, the mystery of death, which it took me 33 years to really get, and I'll tell you right now, it means there's no death for the self and there's no rebirth. The soul is eternal. So it took me, you can read about that in the book, but it took me 33 years before I could get that. And that was the essence of that. So my brother died when I was killed in a car accident when I was 16. And put me in the many mystical experiences, and then my father, and then my mother at 33. And finally, as I got more intensely involved with the spiritual life and had what we call the Kundalini awakening, the spiritual energy, it just came to me as an experience. There is no death for the self. The soul is eternal, neither born, neither dies. And that was a major spiritual breakthrough. It just took me 33 years to get there.
Is spiritual emptiness, which you talk a lot about in the book, and obviously the title, Into the Nothing, does that relate to death at all?
No. In the sense that death is more kind of an astral plane transition, where you go to another plane. Into the nothing, there are no planes. There's no you. There's only the primal oneness, which is very different because it's a much, much deeper level than astral plane where you leave your physical body and you go to other kind of realms. So they're really not the same at all. There's still a you in these other realms. Whereas what I'm talking about, there is a dissolution, a natural, spontaneous dissolution as you as a separate I-ness from God, and there's only God.
Can somebody use this?
It's very, very different.
Can somebody use this into the nothing if they're dealing with, say, chronic pain, or they're dealing with cancer or some kind of traumatic health issue, or if they're helping somebody else deal with it? Can they use the into the nothing medicinally?
Well, yes, because the key is meditation. So I've had abdominal surgery without anesthetic by simply going into meditation, because you go to a place where you are beyond your senses. So I had two hernia repairs without anesthetic.
Wow.
And they basically pain-free because you go to what there's a yogic term for it, but it doesn't really matter. The main idea is you go beyond the senses.
Is it samadhi? What's the yogic term? What's the yogic term?
Well, it's Well, basically, it's the senses disappear. Samadhi is 3 levels deeper than that. Okay? That's kind of the understanding. I don't want to get too technical, but the main point is there's 8 steps in yoga, and the 5th step, I'll say it, pratyahara. Pratyahara is where you go beyond the senses. So I've had teeth pulled without anesthetic, 2 abdominal operations, kind of testing myself. I like to test myself to see, is it for real? And so as you go deep enough in meditation, you're free of those senses, pratyahara.
Now, this isn't something the average person. This isn't something the average person can do, though. I mean, you've had to train to get to that point.
Well, before that, I had been meditating in India 6 hours a day. Saying the name of God 4.5 hours a day. It was like very focused. There's a place where you naturally go beyond the senses. It's not like I planned it, not that I thought about it. It just naturally began to happen. It's good not to have any goals. As I point out, take all of life as a opportunity to grow spiritually, and it's good to have an intent to know God, but not a goal, because that creates an egoic kind of activation which gets in your way.
Wow. I assume you read Autobiography of a Yogi, right?
Sure. Yes. Many years ago.
Yeah. That's when I read your book. I had the same feeling as when I read Autobiography of a Yogi, and that is that, oh my God, I am so far away from where I could be or where I might get to. It's like almost like the stuff you're talking about and the stuff that you've experienced and lived is so divine and so powerful. How can the average person like myself take advantage? What's the first step that we can do to take advantage of some of these concepts?
It's a very good question, but they aren't concepts. It's a way of life. I talk about the 6 foundations, 7-fold peace in my books, and you can read more about it at treeoflife.mn.co. I talk about it. I teach it. Having regular workshops on it. So they all are a way of life that naturally takes you to this awareness. So that's the key. I could name the 6 foundations if you want.
What's the first thing that we could do? Step number 1 for beginners like myself.
Step number 1 is see it as a way of life. So we start with a plant-based diet, 100%, 80% live food. Then spiritual fasting is very, very effective, 7 days, twice a year, which we do, at this point do over the internet. People start to really touch in, okay? And then I do yoga 6 days a week. I call it tri-yoga, and breathing exercises, a lot of service and charity. We have programs all over the world. I worked with a spiritual teacher for many years. Then as much meditation as possible. I recommend it. You can start at 10 minutes twice a day, but work up to an hour twice a day. And then what we call the awakening of the spiritual energy, the awakening of the Kundalini. Called yoga, we call it Shaktipat, and in the West we call it the awakening of the Ruach HaKodesh. So it's in all the traditions. How do you start? Simple. Take one step at a time that you're going to succeed with. Okay, I'm going to meditate 5 minutes twice a day. I can do that. Oh, now a month later, I think I'm going to move it to 10 minutes. Oh, I think I'm going to be vegan. Let me see what I do. Well, I'm going to give up meat. No, good. A month later, I'm giving up chicken. A month later, it's fish. And then after that, it's dairy. And then suddenly, I've given up grain, and I'm there. So the key is to be very gentle with yourself, because you want to succeed at each step of the way. So people start with diet, people start with meditating a little bit, and then it's like doing exercise, and then it just keeps expanding. So that's the way to do it. But be gentle. and just know it's a process that unfolds over many, many years.
Do you see diet as being essential for progress? Spiritual progress.
What I teach is that a plant-based diet, and is at least 80% live food, helps. We have a subtle nervous system called the nadis. There's 72,000 nadis, and it helps the spiritual energy move through because it's not clogged with the energy of death from animal products, if you see what I mean. So the key is to have your system as clear as possible so the spiritual energy can move through most powerfully and most easily. So diet plays a role. And you can't eat your way to God. You cannot eat your way to God, but it makes you strong, makes you viable. I mean, I'm at my chronological age is 77, and I regularly do 1,000 push-ups 3 times a week. How does that happen?
Yeah. Doc, we're at it. Dr. Cousins,
we're at progression. It's the progression. That's the key.
We're out of time, Dr. Cousins. Thank you so much for being on the bright side. It's been a total privilege talking to you. The book is Into the Nothing, Dr. Rabbi Gabriel Cousins. God bless you. Thank you so much. And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side, friends. I am Pharmacist Ben. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to you all later, folks. Bye for now.